It is that time again for prediction videos. I totally not done prediction videos before, and I totally didn't do an update video before. But you know, it's not like I was wrong with my predictions or anything. But you know, we're just doing a prediction video, focusing on the remaining two waves, wave 5 and wave 6, which is total has 16 tracks left. A double dash worth of tracks for us, which is very exciting. And I mean, in all seriousness, the reason I wanted to make another video is because I feel the pieces have kind of come together now. I think it's a lot clearer. I think there's still probably any surprises. This probably won't be accurate. But I think there's quite a lot of the track picks we know of right now. Where they'll actually fall into place, I don't know. But I am confident on a few, and I see here, I've listed the stuff we were predicting. These are all the tracks. You've got 5 tour tracks, which are the city tracks. 4 new tracks, which is based on the ones that don't have a prefix next to them. Before, and in my old predictions, I thought, the later waves, they're going to be filled in. They're not going to do that many new tracks. But we've had 4 waves now. And wave 2, wave 3, and wave 4 all had an unlisted prefix, and they were always filled in with a new track. All 3 times. So I think I've got to stop the copium. I don't think there's any more DS or 3DS tracks now. But if the pattern continues where it's still going to be 1 new track per wave, that's what's been beforehand. Wave 6 is the anomaly because you have the new track in the Spiny Cup, but there's also 2 unlisted slots in the Acorn Cup. The Acorn Cup is a very weird cup, and I think that one's going to be the one that will end up having a lot of surprises. Let's say those 2 slots there are actually not new tracks. And if that's the case, then I reckon there will be a DS and a 3DS track to compensate for the lack of 3DS, especially. There's been no 3DS stuff this year. And I don't think the characters are going to compensate with that because we're not getting Wiggler and we're not getting Honey Queen. Spoiler alert. But I would have guessed I'd say Airship Fortress and maybe a Woohoo track if they added to tour eventually, although they're doing the Me tour and releasing with it is Mushroom Bridge, not the Woohoo tracks. I don't get it. But I feel 3DS track with that. Warrior Shipyard's probably most popular, but the problem is if I'm filling in those slots and that's going next to Airship Fortress, 2 ship tracks, you know, it just wouldn't make sense. So otherwise, like Rosalina's Iceport, I guess, but that's not very popular. So I don't know. I think it's a shame they're going to miss out on quite a lot of 3DS tracks that are already in tour. Like, tour has more 3DS tracks than anything. At least at launch, that might have changed because there's been a lot of tracks since. But yeah, a lot of missed out, I'm afraid. So that's a shame. But yeah, they're not listed. There's no guarantee for any of that. And I don't think that's going to happen at this point. I think they've just got 3 new tracks hidden for us. So yeah, these will be my ranking, and I'll go through them in a list format, and then I'll try and organize where they'll specifically go. But the thing is, even using the prefix, it can change. Now, you know what a prefix is by now. If you're watching this video, you know what it is. But I've seen people saying, well, it's no longer accurate because of wave 3 and 4, and I think that is a dumb claim. And the wrong one at that. And the main reason is the tracks we've gone still aligns with the prefix leak, right? The problem is stuff has just been swapped around. The order of the tracks we see in the prefix, which I'll show you now. Let's see if I have a cup. Cherry Cup, Acorn Cup, and the Spiny Cup there. The fact of the matter is, even though in wave 4 and 3, tracks have not matched with the prefixes, the tracks are still aligned. Wave 3 was leaked entirely after the Wave 2 update, but they swapped some things around. The tracks that were going to be in Wave 3 were also on Wave, except Waluigi Stadium. That was delayed until Wave 4. Maple Treeway was planned for Wave 6 in the Acorn Cup, presumably to be the theme track of that cup. But that was moved forward into Wave 3. And another point of discussion that makes here is whether this slot here in the Acorn Cup is now still a Wii track or a GameCube track. And again, because I think the contents of the Boost Course Pass have just been swapped around. Nothing has been replaced. It's just where they show up in the DLC has changed. I think it's going to be a GameCube track. I still want to get 4 GameCube tracks total. Rather than 2 Wii tracks in Wave. I feel they swapped it so there'd be a Wii track per Wave because they're always fan favourite tracks. It would be pretty weird to just get rid of a GameCube track so you can have 2 Wii tracks on the last Wave. That just feels unnecessary. I just don't see it happening. So my prediction there is that it's still a GameCube slot. I have no reason to believe otherwise. But it's entirely possible that they did actually just delete a GameCube track, but I don't feel they do that, personally. So yes, 2 Wii tracks, 3 GameCube tracks in these predictions. The tour tracks. Now there's 3 now. There's 3. 1 got added in the tour that we know of. The other 2 could be whatever. Apparently Madrid's a leaked one. In terms of stuff that... Look, this includes the new tracks. If it's not in tour... But I'm not going to make a prediction, right? My prediction is it's going to be a city track, you know? I don't think it matters, the specifics there. But the 3 tour tracks we don't have yet is LA Laps, Vancouver Velocity, and new one is Athens Dash. And I'll explain placements in a bit. The 4 new tracks, the only new one we have is Piranha Plant Cove. That's in tour. And this one's definitely going to come in. And it ties into a character prediction. Again, I'll show you when I get to the list of how I've organised this. Which will happen now that I've clarified what we won't really be discussing. So that's 3 new tracks and 2 tour city tracks. We don't know what they are yet. So yeah. Now, I've made a list, and I apologise because the Wave 6 is going to look very incomplete, to say the least, because a lot of it is new stuff, and I'm interested in picking what already exists, because there's way too many possibilities on what could come out, but I'll have some suggestions when we get there. Wave 5, I think, we have complete answer for things, except for 1 track, or potentially 2, because I do think there's some alternatives, you know. I think some stuff's set in stone, other stuff could not be the case. But yeah, here you are, the Feather Cup, Athens Dash. It matches the theme, feather, you know, Greece, that makes sense. Now, I struggle to figure out whether this should be the first or the last cup, because of some of the leaks. There will be 3 city tracks, like in Wave 4, and one of the cups in Wave 5 will just end on track. This happens to be the Feather Cup. I see no reason to change this, because the Cherry Cup will end with a Nitro track. Although at the same time, Wave 4, the Fruit Cup came before the Boomerang Cup, even though the Fruit Cup was better and had Yosh Islands. So I don't know. But I'm just going to stick with it because I have no reason to change the prefixes when it comes to that. And I chose LA Labs to actually define one because we've seen before with the Rock Cup, for example, Rock Mountain, aka Up on Pass, the one that the theme track, because they usually have one that matches the theme of the cup. Another one is the Propeller Cup, Mushroom Gorge. Those don't end cups, you know, like they've done this before where the theme does not complete the cup. But what they haven't done is they have never had a cup that like if it has a track that's 3 sections, that track always ends the cup. And LA Laps, I think, how the versions are laid out, how they don't really cross over the other versions. It's just kind of like a 3-section track, like the Woohoo tracks, many of the Rainbow Roads we've seen. well, two of them, but still, and Mount Wario. I think it's going to be like that, and that'll be really cool. So yeah, in terms of what's in the middle here are more traditional retro tracks: Mushroom Bridge and Cooper Cape. Cooper Cape, at first I had in the Cherry Cup. In the original prefix, the Wii track of this wave is the second track. I don't think Cooper Cape makes sense to be the straight second. I think it makes sense to go third. And then before, I put one of the arguably more simplistic Double Dash tracks, and that being Mushroom Bridge, which was recently revealed in Tour, which means I'm leaning towards it being added. Again, there's the argument between, will it be Bridge or will it be C? Before actually Bowser's Castle 3 was revealed, and I'll get into my prediction for that in a bit. The reason I thought neither of them were going to happen is because I thought we were going to get Double Dash's Bowser Castle in Wave 6 of Spiny Cup. I think that ship has sailed, but I do think we will be getting a 3D Bowser's Castle in the revamp that we got for the SNES Bowser Castle 3, which has basically become a 3D Bowser Castle. And that's why there's no SNES track in Wave 5, because that'll be in Wave 6, in my opinion. So in place of that, I put another Double Dash track in this wave, because there's going to be two, if it will be, unless one of them was replaced by a Wii track, as I mentioned earlier. I think it makes more sense for Wave 5 to have it. Get those two tracks, especially if you're going to have Mushroom Bridge. Mushroom Bridge is a standalone GameCube track. It doesn't work as well. I said as someone who loves the track. It's just not really a huge fan favorite one. I think City's more popular, but City would be a real bad move because we have way too many Tour City tracks that it wouldn't fit well. Especially when it's not going to be one that the laps change, so it'll actually feel underwhelming compared to the regular Tour City ones, in my opinion. I get there's never been remade before, but the only remake Mushroom Bridge has had forgot why people liked Mushroom Bridge. It took literally everything out of it except like one of the shortcuts. And I think the Tour remake of Mushroom Bridge looks fantastic. I really want it in this DLC, and I think it has the highest chance, but this is one that could change. So yeah, Cooper Cape follows it, and I was going to move to Cherry Cup. There's a lot of water themed stuff, but I mean it's a summer wave, so it makes sense that it happens to be like this. But at the same time, none of the tracks really have clashing themes, even though there is underwater stuff. And I realize LAX doesn't even have underwater stuff. You just go on a beach. So yeah, I think they're very much different. To keep them right next to each other, I think it's fine. Cherry Cup, I think we'll have to, whatever new city track will be, Madrid, let's say. Then I'll be followed up with Sunset Wilds. I don't think it would be the third track in A Cup, because I think it's one of the more simplistic GBA remakes. And we've seen more complex ones like Riverside Park, which has just been the second one. But, you know, that could change for sure. Now, the reason I picked Sunset Wilds is because that's one of, it's the only like non-Tour C track that hasn't just been leaked outright for the DLC. So unless it's just replaced, it's showing up at some point in the DLC. And I mean, it's a solid track. I know that Yoshi Desert Remake is really good though, so to make an argument for that instead, I think any Game Boy track is a win, so I'll too picky, except for the Bowser Castle GBA ones, because I think we need the SNES one, if we're getting any, but next is Daisy Cruiser, fan favourite Double Dash track. I think this one's definitely getting in, and it makes sense that it'll be in the summer wave at somewhere in it. So I think it makes sense to be the final retro track before the new one, Piranha Plant Cove. Now, I think this is also entirely possible to be in Wave 6, because, again, from the looks of it, hypothetically, Wave 6 is going to have 3 new tracks, so it makes sense to have a track that we already know is coming as one of the 3, I feel. But I think it's more again, I mean, some loose summer theme, I guess. But it's less of that. It's more the character picks, because what I think the characters will do, because we got 5 left, they'll up it by 1 per wave. So we had just Birdo in wave 4. Now I'm going to have 2 characters for wave 5, and wave 6 will have the remaining half, which will be 3 more. So Pea Piranha. The Piranha Plant Cove is not just Piranha Plant themed, it is PE Piranha themed. There are so many PE Piranha like statues of his specific shaped head. And considering, there's so many new tracks that'll be coming, they're not going to leave Piranha Plant Cove out of it. So I think P Piranha is like a guaranteed character return, which if we didn't have this track, I would not even be considering him for making a return, So I think that's pretty cool. I think that'll be a very cool return. So the second character, and this is what I'm quite unsure of, because I'm going with a theme that we have tracks that tie into returning characters. Pauline, I can't really find a place for that. I mean, there's the idea of a DK track, which is why initially I thought, pair her with the Kong. Spoiler, I predict that both Diddy and Funky Kong will get in. They're both really popular. Diddy is the only character who's appeared in more than one main game, that being Double Dash and Wii, and he's not in a Deluxe. Birdo was the other one. We have Birdo now. Diddy Kong's definitely getting in. Funky Kong is just really popular, so he's getting in too. I feel, at least. And Pauline has the connection to the Kongs, being from the first Donkey Kong game, being like the original 3 of this universe, really. So you could 100% just slap her with the Kongs that return. But yeah, I don't really have any idea of possible track themed after. One of the new tracks might be themed after, that is totally possible. But New York Minute, for example, you got New Donk City. You won't get New Donk City because that will clash with New York Minute. And also, you've already had the Moon Cup Co. So I feel like the chance for like a Pauline tie-in appearance has passed. But I don't think that means she'll be absent from the game. Assuming tour characters are in consideration, she has to be the most likely. She is the most popular, and understandably so. I wanted to just rile like some crazy fucking species like King Baba and throw him there. But I think Pauline's the more likely pick. Even though I have no like tie-in for her, so I've just kind of thrown her into this wave, I suppose. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel we're getting her. I don't really know how. That is the one thing that puzzles me with this wave. But yeah, that concludes wave 5. Wave 6 here. There's a lot of blanks. Okay, so Vancouver Velocity. I think the prefix is having the Spiny Cup. I really don't remember, but I think it will be moved to the Acorn Cup. Because if the Acorn Cup, and I have no reason to change this because I don't know what these new tracks will be, so I just assume they're both at the end. Kind of like a Wii U DLC Cup. They had the retros in the first half, and in the second half as the new tracks. They could return to that pattern for this cup specifically. So I've just stuck with that, Vancouver Velocity. I think you want to have the tracks you're more familiar with, because Vancouver Velocity is a pretty old city track. I think you want that. It's like a retro track we've been looking forward to. So that this cup doesn't feel like complete unfamiliar territory. And then next is the last Double Dash track. And it pains me to say it, because I think Dino Jungle should be in instead. I think Dino Jungle is underrated. I think it's better than DK Mountain. Noshi fans rise up. But this ties into my characters, and since I was talking about the Wave 5 characters, I might as well just jump straight to the Kongs, which I mentioned. There'll be a tie to DK Mountain here. And also DK Mountain is more popular than Dino Jungle. Dino Jungle is the older track as well. Which means we'll complain about the graphics probably, unless they do a big glow up for it. But I really want it in. But I'm not sure anymore. Personally, I feel they should have had both Dino Jungle and DK Mountain. I think they're both been like very popular Double Dash tracks. I know they share the music and they have the jungle theme, but if they spaced the Double Dash tracks out properly, that wouldn't have been a problem, I don't think. But since we've gone wave 4 and it's neither are there, it's got to be one or the other at this point. They can't just chuck both together in such a close time frame. And I do think DK Mountain is a bit more likely. My other theory is because there's so many new tracks. There is a one of the data mine files for like a new track is Mob DK, Donkey Kong, obviously. But apparently that's not how file naming works. That will stand for something else entirely. I don't know. But say if we did get a new DK track, and there's so many DK tracks that I feel that's pretty ludicrous. But kind of like a homage to the DK games, like how we had the Yoshi Island track. I feel that's entirely possible, and that could actually have a stronger chance in Wave 5, I feel. Because there's only one nice track there, and I feel that'd be more standout. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it could go either way, really. I'm not sure at all. Since obviously we have no proof that we are getting a new Donkey Kong track, I've got to go with this theory, because I think that's naturally more likely. It's not what I want personally, but I like DK Mountain. I'll take it, but I'm absolutely rooting for Dino Jungle to come back. Because I fucking love that track. Nintendo, you robbed me of Airship Port. Just give me this, please. If I get Mushroom Bridge, then that's cool, actually. Get me one at least. Please, Nintendo. And then new tracks. Again, I've already said one might be a DK track. I have no particular one. I know there's leaks of like a bathroom track. That sounds really fucking stupid. So I'm not getting behind that at all. So on the Spiny Cup, this will be the new city track. And there's also a new track somewhere in there. But I moved it down because Bowser's Castle 3, the SNES version. I feel like the last SNES track has to be this track. It's an insane glow up. I feel like it has eight Deluxe in mind. Like there's blatant spots for anti-gravity. It just would make sense. I know you're much better than getting Vanilla Lake, which is like on the Daemon banner, and also on the ads for Coconut Mall, but I don't think that means shit. So yeah, I think it has to be this track. Like it's not like a situation where, like I was just talking about, how I'd be disappointed if Dino Jungle doesn't get in. Like, there's no suitable alternative unless they release another, like, SNES Bowser Castle variant. That's also like the same as 3D. But I don't think it'd be as good. I think 3 is the best because you have the walls. And if they were to do that, I think it could still be in Wave 5. But I think it would be better if they moved it to Wave 6. Put it behind Rainbow Road, Rainbow Road, because that's just getting in. I don't have to explain that pick. And then you have like a classic finale cup there. I think that would be a very cool way to end it. So that being said, I'd rather not have another Rainbow Road entirely. I personally think that Mario Kart 7's Rainbow Road should have been saved till the end. I think, especially after you have the best Rainbow Road, like everyone agrees, 7's is the best, at least in terms of theming, right? And then you want to follow that up with a 5th Rainbow Road in this game? Like, just, no. I would rather take Dry Dry Runes over this, personally. I think the Dry Dry Runes Grove in Tour is really good. I think it deserves to be represented in this game, and just, besides Sunset Wilds, there's no more desert tracks. I personally think that would have been a better pick, but we're making reasonable predictions. I think they're in Rainbow Road. And there's one last character here, Kamek. Kamek is a character who, if we're taking Tour characters into consideration, which I feel we are, because they count Tour City tracks as past retro tracks, so I think they are. And if that's the case, then he'd be put in alongside Bowser Castle 3. Every time you get a Tour trailer that's Bowser has a Bowser Castle, Kamek is in the advertising. He's in the advertising for Airship Fortress because it's lava. He's just around for Bowser stuff, and it makes sense. He's the most important Bowser minion. He's the Shang Tsung to Bowser's Shao Kahn. It just makes sense. And when he's in the movie and in quite a prominent role, not too important, but like he has a lot of scenes, he has a lot of dialogue. He disappears around the end of the movie. But that is a big role for Kamek. And of course, it's the whole history of Kamek was meant to be in Mario Kart 64 and was replaced by Donkey Kong, which is wild. The alternate universe where Kamek is the mainstay over Donkey Kong, that is crazy. It's got to be his time. He was meant to be in 8 as well. He's been cut from 2 games. He's meant to be in Wii U 8 because his icon was in the files, and it just hasn't showed up. This is the time to bring him back, and I think he is a must-have. I think him and Diddy Kong are must-have picks. Diddy Kong to complete the roster of characters who have appeared more than once, and people expect them to show up. The rest is just like weird, goofy one-off characters in terms of what's been in the main games before. You know, you got your Wigglers. Funky Kong is a very weird character pick. You know, I think he's only getting him because of popularity, right? Which fair enough, right? But Kamek is really important. I think he needs to get in. Hammer Bros is another character that was cut, and I think he'd be a fantastic pick from the tour characters as well. Especially because you can give all the bro variants, like Hammer Bro, Ice Bro, Fire Bro. I think there's another one, but you can make them like alt versions. I think that's another one that'd be really good. But obviously we know how many characters we're getting, which is a surprisingly decent amount, you know. 6 characters when we expect to get none. That's really good. But yeah, some are going to have to miss out, and I think King Bob, Hammer Bros and so on, I think they're going to be left behind, which is a shame. But I think if we get Kamek, I'm going to be happy. So yeah, those are my predictions. Again, I think some stuff could be changed. I've suggested alternate scenarios that are also probably just as likely. So yeah, those are my updated predictions. Expect another update video after Wave 5, because I'll probably get it wrong. I think Wave 6... I mean, the problem with predicting Wave 6 once we get to it is most of the prefixes are blank. Because you'd think, oh, there's only one wave left, predicting that must be easy. But no. I'm excited for Wave 5, though. I think having the fact of we're getting more characters, you know, this is the first time we've had that level of hype for a new wave, because we weren't expecting it for Wave 4. They just showed us Yoshi Line, and then they showed Birdo. And I was like, holy shit, I cried. So I'm excited to see what we get. And I'm just rooting for my homie Kamek. You know, that's all I want. Give me what I want, Nintendo. So yeah, those are my predictions. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.